Hey guys, okay, so welcome to the Movie Champs show.
Hello.
Oh, you got the video open. That's
Yes,
why I heard an echo.
Yes, that's fine.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, this has just been so eventful.
Yes.
We've been streaming privately
For like a good 10
for
minutes
the last
now.
10 minutes, apparently. Thankfully, Zach called and said, hey, you know what? I don't see your video up. So I had set our streamer to private so I can run some tests on it and make sure everything was all it's synchronized and then working, and apparently forgot to change it back to public. So we get to do everything we were doing
All over again.
all over again.
We didn't get far into the show, mind
Yeah,
you.
we did
so-
not get far, and it wasn't actually very good. So this actually gives us an opportunity
Yeah.
to actually do a better job. So take two, guy. All right. So anyways, so for this episode of the show, we are going to be talking about. We have some Flashpoint movie news. We have the Justice League Bluray news. And we have some news about Leonardo DiCaprio's role in Quentin Tarantino's Manson movie, Charles Manson, not Marilyn Manson movie.
That would be a weird movie to see.
So, and also we're gonna do some movie reviews for some movies that have actually been out for a little while now, but they just haven't been available in our area yet.
And they finally came out and we saw them.
Yes. So those movies are Tonya. We have Call Me by Your Name, and we have The Florida Project. So 3 movies that are actually getting a lot of Oscar buzz, and we're excited to get to talk about them tonight. And also we have a new game that we're going to try out tonight. It's called, what's your title?
Pitch Imperfect.
Yes, the Pitch Imperfect game. We'll explain how that works out when we get closer to it. That's going to be at the end of our show. It's going to be, I mean, it's not like as interactive as like a video game or something, but we do ask for your input for this game. So we do want you to stick around
And see what's going to happen.
Yes, because we need your comments to put some votes in for how we're going to do this game. So anyways, we're going to actually I had another announcement that I wanted to make. That's supposed. It's not going to affect this next week's episode, but the following week after that, I'm supposed to be having a surgery on Monday, January 29th, and we don't know quite how I'm going to be physically at that time, whether or not it's going to be. It's just ankle surgery, nothing super major or anything. Some of y'all know that I had a severe ankle injury last January, and I've had 2 surgeries on my ankle so far, and I'm having a third one that's going to be about as intense as the first one. So we're going to see how I am physically the episode after next to see if we're going to be able to do it. I feel like we are. If I'm as restricted as I was for my first surgery, then I think I'll be okay to do the show. As long as I'm not on like any crazy medicines or nothing. Actually, that might be an interesting show.
Yeah, that might be an interesting show. Let's just see this. Hey, what kind of painkillers are you on this week? I can't feel my face. I don't know.
Yeah, so that might actually make for an interesting show. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to be on anything like that. So hopefully we're fine to do whatever's the episode following January 29th. So anyways,
And also one more thing you brought up.
The channel name.
The channel
name.
name.
We changed our channel name. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, you guys noticed that if you follow us on our social medias or Instagrams and stuff like that we announced that we have changed the name of this channel. It used to be called just the Movie Champs channel, and we had the Geek Champs channel, we had the Horror Champs channel, and now we're all under one roof. And it's called the Champs Entertainment channel. So that gives us a little bit more creative freedom to make any content that we feel
we want now.
Yeah, we want. So it opens up a little bit more possibility for what we can do with this channel, because I know a lot of you guys know about the new changes to the monetization process for YouTube. So the rate we were going at, just doing our own thing and feeling a little bit more restricted with what we were able to do with our channel, this opens up the possibility for us to make more content, to make better content, make more personal content. And I mean, it's just we do plan to branch out eventually. Yeah, we do want to branch out and make our own separate channels eventually. But for right now, this felt like the best way to help build this business and build this channel.
Yeah, as the start as one, and then branch out after we build a brand.
Yes. So this is we're super excited to see what all we can do with this now, especially since we just redesigned the set and everything. So I mean, there's a lot of things that I like to do. I like to do graphic design. I like to do trying to learn animation. I do music and stuff. So this is just a better thing, and especially we've heard from some of you guys that you want to see vlogs. Zach and I have heard, so vlogging is something that we would be able to do now with this channel. Mm-hmm. So we're super excited to see what all we're going to do in the near future. So anyways, now we're ready for the first story, right?
Yes, now we're ready for the first story.
Okay. So for the first story, we have vacation directors have been tapped to direct Flashpoint. So, Variety reported that Spider-Man Homecoming scribes John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein are in negotiations to direct Flashpoint, the Flash standalone movie starring Ezra Miller. Warner Brothers has yet to comment, but the studio had initially courted Ben Affleck to return to the director's chair, but he passed on the gig. By tapping Daly and Goldstein, the studio seems to eye a comedic tone for the film, given the duo's directing background on movies like Vacation and the upcoming Game Night movie starring Jason Bateman. All right, so we got rid of the whole thumbs up, thumbs down thing. That was kind of lagging down our live stream. So without putting any fingers up or any appendages, what do you think of this?
No.
No. Yeah, the Vacation movie wasn't so good, but I mean they did write Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, but that was under the oversight of people who knew what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. They had a good director on that, didn't they? Man.
Yeah. So no.
I'm holding off my total judgment until I see Game Night. Their trailer looks really funny, but so did Vacation a little bit. Vacation looked kind of funny, but Game Night actually looks funnier than
Vacation's trailer was okay, but Game Night's trailer caught me clear off guard because I'm like, what is going to happen in this movie? Because it looks like just in the trailer a lot's going on, so what does the full movie have in it?
Right.
But as far as Flashpoint goes, this is a story that does not need to be comedic.
No. I mean, we already... one of the bigger gripes about Flash from the Justice League movie was more that he was just seemed to be joke after joke after joke. So I would.
That's the Flash,
right? But still.
But there's a lot of drama to his character too, and Flashpoint touches on that drama a lot.
Right.
Because basically it all boils down to him subconsciously trying to save his mother that fateful night.
Right.
And then Flashpoint is the result of him succeeding.
Okay.
So that even comes to a point at one point in the story where the main villain basically says, you have this power to stop anything, and you chose it to pretty much for this very selfish reason.
Right.
And it's pretty much, and look what your selfishness has caused.
Okay. So, yeah, that does sound like pretty a lot heavier stuff than what we faced in Vacation. It's so hard to blame Vacation because that just seemed like a bad move all around.
Well, not really, because they had their part in the right place by making it a sequel of sorts.
Right.
It was just the fact that no one really wanted it.
Yeah.
It just kind of was there.
Yeah.
It's not anyone's fault that didn't do well, because the idea that he grew up and wanted to take his family on the same vacation he went on, that's kind of what families do. So that plot idea was kind of cool, but it was just the fact that no one really wanted a Vacation remake, reboot, sequel thing.
And it seems like a good idea that Ben Affleck jumped ship he's jumping ship from the whole franchise. So
yeah, and I do not blame you, Ben Affleck. You are a good Batman, but they're not doing nothing with you.
Yeah. So once they finally start getting a sense of direction, and because I mean I sort of was a little bit on board with what they were doing with those separate DC Universe movies that they were planning out.
Yeah.
That I have not heard word on in months, so I don't even know if that's even a thing anymore.
Because one thing that I will, because here's the thing about, I hate to say it, but that's one thing the MCU did right too. They actually had a point to everything.
Yes.
Like right from the beginning with Iron Man to now with Avengers Infinity War coming out in May. Every movie that has came out has in some way led to Infinity War.
Right.
This was the goal. How do we tell all these stories and then make them all make sense in this one movie? And that was the goal, and they accomplished that goal. Because now we know. Because now when you get to the Infinity War, we don't have to reintroduce nobody.
Right.
We don't have to like. They're not popping as like, whoa, so and so's in this movie. It's more like, so this is the role he's playing in the story. It's more. They're more like, we set these pieces up. Now here's what we're doing with them all.
Right.
Where with the DC version, it's just like, okay, we told the Batman vs Superman story, and now we tell the Wonder Woman story, and now we tell a Justice League story.
Yes.
And now we tell a Suicide Squad story. How do all these stories interconnect? Where they feature the same actors, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
That is not the same thing at all. Like at the very least, you could have teased a mother box in Batman vs Superman, teased a mother box in Wonder Woman, and then Aquaman's mother box shows up in Justice League as the final piece of the puzzle, and then Aquaman shows you the story of how that mother box got there.
Yeah.
You know, there is a way you could have told this story where you had built to Justice League in a way where it felt organic instead of just, how do we just... It's pretty much like we're watching Warner Brothers play with expensive action figures. They're just telling fan fiction.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. All right. So I wish I can say I think we're done with this whole DC thing, but we're about to move on to the last DC story of the day, I believe.
Yes.
And that is, we have some information about the new Justice League Blu-ray that's coming out at the end of February. Anyways, there's been a lot of backlash that there is not going to be a Zack Snyder cut on this Blu-ray. And I mentioned this several weeks ago, that I did not believe that there is like an actual... I mean, there is a Zack Snyder cut because he did turn in a thing, but it did not have any of the special effects, and it was like 3 hours long, and that none of that was completed yet. So it didn't. I knew that it didn't make any financial sense, and it didn't make sense in the overall goal for what they plan to do with Justice League and the franchise, to release a director's cut or to finish a director's cut. So I said that several episodes ago, and here we are now with them announcing that there's not a Zack Snyder's director's cut, at least not anytime soon. Maybe I don't want to say anytime soon, because there's Zack Snyder might finish this thing on his own. I don't know. I doubt it. I think he's done. I think he's done with DC. So, but yeah, what are your feelings about this?
I have no feelings.
You have no feelings.
I have none. I'm not intrigued to see a Zack Snyder director's cut, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that in his experience so far with the DC universe that indicates I even cared to see what his... I mean, it's tragic what happened, why this had to happen.
Why he had to step away.
Yes.
We're not talking about
yes.
the reasons why.
This is strictly business here, not his personal life.
This is strictly just what he presented up to us on screen.
Yes.
And I'm not intrigued to see what else he has.
Yes.
As far as these characters.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm not heartbroken. I think people that weren't completely satisfied. I mean, we weren't completely satisfied with what we received with the Justice League. We were happy that it seemed to be heading in a good direction. Mm-hmm. But as we've seen since then, there still seems to be no direction, no good direction anyway.
No, none.
So I don't know. I mean, we'll see with Aquaman and Wonder Woman 2. Those are two things that seem to be definitely happening. Oh, and Shazam. Oh, there was some Shazam news that I didn't put in here. I don't remember what it was. We'll save that for another time. It's not that big of news.
No.
I don't even remember what it is, so it ain't that big of news.
Oh, yeah, they actually released that Mark Strong is indeed playing the villain. That's what it was.
Oh, that's one thing. There's another casting news. I think it was somebody from This Is Us. I don't know. It's somebody from This Is Us is in the movie. I don't remember what their name is. I don't watch that show. So, either way.
Here's a good one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so are we done with this story?
Yes, I'm done.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next story. And that is Leonardo DiCaprio. We have some information about his role in Quentin Tarantino's Charles Manson movie. So, according to Deadline, DiCaprio will play an actor who had his own Western show, Bounty Law. that ran on the air from 1958 to 1963. His attempt to transition to movies didn't work out, and in 1969, the film is set at the height of hippie Hollywood movement. He's guesting on other people's shows while contemplating going to Italy, which has become a hotbed for low-budget westerns. How does it sound?
So it's going to be a low-budget western movie about low-budget western movies, set in the backdrop of Manson's Hollywood.
Well, yeah. Well, it's going to be. It sounds like more like a hippie movie with a bit of western on the side.
That sounds really bizarre, but color me intrigued.
Well, I mean, like in there, from like the early '60s that Clint Eastwood had gone out to Italy and was doing the spaghetti westerns out there, and then so that it seems like this is a little later than when Clint Eastwood was doing it. But either way, I mean, it sounds intriguing to see what this might happen, because it sounds like, I mean, it possibly might have missed the boat as far as when that was actually work. I don't know. From here it says hotbed, but I don't know. At that time it was already going on, so who knows. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. I mean, there's definitely nothing to indicate here that this is bad news. It's just an interesting character, and I really want to know about I can't wait to hear more. The more and more I hear about this, the more excited I get, especially now when I'm hearing that Tom Cruise is in talks for a role in this movie. Margot Robbie, all of them. And, I mean, I heard about Brad Pitt, but I hadn't heard anything recently about Brad Pitt being attached to this movie. But man, if you get all of those people in this movie, and oh gosh, yeah, I'm excited. I cannot wait for this movie.
This sounds like a film fan's dream movie right here. This is like they're building to something with this one. Yeah.
So I mean, and also, it's giving me some of the vibes of like Pulp Fiction, where there's going to be a lot of little vignette stories that are going on within this movie.
Like you might see like a bit of one of the movies he's made, or thinking about one of the episodes of the show,
right?
And they reenact it as part of the story.
Yes. So I mean, it just feels like a throwback movie for as far as what Quentin Tarantino's been doing lately. Because I mean, I like his westerns especially. Hateful Eight was really good. It was long, but that was a more closed-in movie. It was more claustrophobic because it was all pretty much in that one room for the most part. And then Django Unchained, it focused more on the Django character. So with this one, it sounds like it's gonna be like just like Pulp Fiction or his other ones like Reservoir Dogs, where it's gonna be a good ensemble movie and just separate stories that we're all gonna be interested in. So yeah, I mean, if this is gonna be a 3-hour one, like what's it? That I just mentioned, Hateful Eight. I think I'll be down for that ride.
Okay, all right. So
anyway,
color me closer to 2.5, maybe 2:15, then I'll be down.
Gotcha. 2:15.
Yeah.
You want more? Okay, so a leaner
movie. Yeah, because sometimes those long movies be like, okay, there's a lot we don't need to see this.
Well, yeah, Hateful Eight had a bit of that. There was some that could have been cut down. I agree with you there. But for we'll see. If I wanted 3 hour or whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our movie reviews. So the first one we're going to start out with was Call Me by Your Name. It's the summer of 1983 in the north of Italy, and Elio Perlman, played by Timothy Chalamet, a precocious 17-year-old young man, spends his days in his family's 17th century villa, transcribing and playing classical music, reading and flirting with his friend Marzia, played by Esther Garrel. Elio enjoys a close relationship with his father, played by Michael Stuhlbarg, an eminent professor specializing in Greco-Roman culture, and his mother, Anela, played by Amira Kazar, a translator, who favor him with the fruits of high culture in the setting of, and I think I actually cut all that joker out, so we're going to go ahead and move over to the next line, which is One Day, Oliver, played by Army Hammer, a 24-year-old American college graduate student working on his doctorate, arrives as the annual summer intern tasked with helping Elio's father. In the sun-drenched splendor of the setting, Elio and Oliver discover the heady beauty of awakening desire over the course of a summer that will alter their lives forever.
This sounds like this is like the definition of a hoity-toity art house film that has no point, but was just filmed just for the sake of being filmed.
All I had told you earlier was that I didn't like the movie. I knew when I got to actually describing the movie that you would actually finally understand why I actually didn't like this movie.
That sounds boring.
This movie, I mean, the political message aside, if I don't, this movie doesn't actually preach at you, which is really good.
Which is refreshing.
So,
from what I've been told.
So, not that I disagree or anything with the politics of the movie. I'm just saying this one does. It's not all in your face or anything like that. So it's fine, for as far as that. But it's boring. Oh my gosh, this movie had no point.
Just that description almost put me to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, the characters themselves weren't very likable. I mean, they're all, like I said, there's a difference between precocious and just being straight. Oh gosh, what's the word I'm trying to think?
D-bags?
Well, yes, that. D-bags and, oh my gosh, I am blanking on the word, and it's not a hard word.
Stuck up?
No, well, they're stuck up, and I'm blanking on it now. It's the word where people are like really uppity, and I don't know. I'm just full of themselves. There's still another word that I'm blanking on, and it's a super simple word. It's stitious. What's the word? Pretentious. Oh my gosh, that's the word. I don't know why I'm blanking on pretentious.
I don't know why we both blanked on pretentious.
I'm so hyped up about talking about this movie right now that I'm forgetting the word pretentious. Gosh, which is weird because out of the three of the champs here, I'm the more pretentious one as far as the kind of movies I watch and like and enjoy.
See, what grounds you is the fact that you have like Diary of a Wimpy Kid in your collection, and you don't have like a lot of your titles aren't French words, so
right.
You're not as pretentious as you think you are.
Right. Okay. but like the Oscars is my Super Bowl, is what?
Yeah.
So that's why I watch those Oscar movies.
Okay,
so
as a fan of movies as a whole, I understand that.
Yes.
So I don't consider that being pretentious because since you like movies like you do, it would make sense that Oscar season would be your Super Bowl. Like the movies coming out is the playoffs. Right. The Oscars is the Super Bowl.
Right.
I understand that.
Well, there's been a lot of these Oscar movies that have pretty much no narrative plan or anything like that, where it just seems like you're just jumping into these people's lives and you're watching just a moment in their life, which is sort of, I mean, this is exactly what they do with this movie. But these people's lives are boring, and like I said, they're pretentious. If you're a fan of art, especially if you're a starving artist, these people should be the ones that upset you because they seem very into their spoils. I mean, every day they're treating themselves to this very fancy party and all. I mean, like I said, the kids plays classical music and he transposes music, and the way that he goes about it in the movie is really pretentious. That's the word that I wanted to use to describe this movie, and that's exactly what this was. I mean, this movie's getting praised, and I just don't know if it's because of like I said, the politics of the movie. If they just feel like they're forced to actually say that they enjoyed it, I don't know. I'm not like that. I don't feel like I have to be forced to hide my opinion sometimes. So, but for this was really stupid. This was a very stupid movie, and I don't know why it's getting so much praise, because like I said, if you can't relate with the characters and you don't really know, you don't believe the romance, you don't believe all of that, it just seemed really really dumb. Zach just walked in.
Hello.
Hey. He has my niece. Anyways, back to the story here. So yeah, I didn't enjoy it. It was really a brutal movie to finish. So I don't know. You're gonna walk across the camera?
Yeah, He has to.
Oh, the cords there. Yeah. Okay.
He's carrying precious cargo, so
yes.
he has to do what he has to do. If he was carrying a pizza, he could have went the other way. But he's carrying a baby. That's a little more important.
So one thing about this movie, though, it also really had high expectations because of the reviews that I had been reading and watching other YouTubers and stuff reviewing it. It had just really high expectations, so maybe that's one of the reasons why. But I could not get into this movie, and I'm a really huge defender of Armie Hammer because I've been really happy that Armie Hammer was finally in a movie that's actually getting some Oscar buzz because he was on a hot streak of nothing for a while. So I've been.
Lone Ranger says hello.
What's that?
The Lone Ranger says hello.
Oh yes. So I've been really into Timothée Chalamet's movies that he's been, especially since he was in Lady Bird. He was very good in Lady Bird. So yeah, I mean, I didn't get the hype. Didn't enjoy the movie, and I don't want to see it again. So with that, I'm going to give it my trusty 6 out of 10. Because it was a decently put together movie. There was some okay cinematography, but the overall story was boring. The characters weren't likable.
See, to me, if a movie is pretty but the story doesn't pull me into it, then the movie's not pretty to me no more. It's just you just shined up a turd, and I can't reward that.
Yeah, but I gave what did I give?
You gave what? Great Showman a 5.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. No, well, I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, we got to talk about your scoring.
Yeah,
you can't rag on them.
But I gave downsizing. I gave that the same score. I didn't like the overall story of that, but it was a good, well directed movie. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and well acted. The acting was pretty good. They played those stupid characters very well, but I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. Maybe it's just not my movie. I don't know. Other people, like I said, other people liked it, but for me, it just didn't work. Mm-hmm. I'm not that into myself as much as these people
are. Like, what's it got? Like, what, a 92, 93 on Rotten Tomatoes right now? It's You're really in like that 7-8%.
Yeah.
So there are people out here that feel like you do. So don't feel like you're alone.
Okay. So 6 out of 10. If I watched it again, maybe I'll change my opinion, but I'm not watching it again, so that's what's happening. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next movie. I, Tonya. And this is one that we both watched. So, go ahead. Can you read that?
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Competitive ice skater Tonya Harding, played by Margot Robbie, rises amongst the ranks at the U.S. Figure Skating Championships. But her future in the activity is thrown in doubt when her ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, played by Sebastian Stan, intervenes.
All right, so I will give you my overall real quick. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
This was if we had seen this when it came out, probably would have been in my top 10 for the year.
Yeah. Yes, it would have. Probably mine as well.
Yeah. So, and I know that this movie's been kind of, I don't know if you would say divisive. There's some people that really don't like this movie, and some people that thought it was okay, and some people that really like this movie. So I fall into the really like this movie and don't know why people don't necessarily enjoy it as much as we did. But I mean, it was told exactly like the trailer had portrayed it, which was, it felt a little bit like a Goodfellas style movie, like an old
part documentary, part reenactment.
Yeah, especially with the way that the story was told and how they fit the narrative like into the movie where they're narrating their lives. Sometimes.
Where they fit like the interview segments into the story in a
situation.
Way. Yeah, like they will be doing in a situation to turn directly to the camera and talk to us.
Yes.
As they're going on, but it's clear that it's the narration, but it doesn't pull you out at the same time because it's just clever where they're just not narrating the whole movie.
Yes. And I mean, it was very well acted. Margot Robbie was excellent. Sebastian Stan, he was something else. Mm-hmm. And Allison Janney as her mom. There were some scenes that were like really hard to watch between Tonya and her mother in this movie.
Yeah,
those were some intense fights.
Yeah,
and definitely some intense fights between Jeff and Tonya. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was some stuff. It just really was. It was some hard to stomach which is really.
It was very, and then you also had to take into consideration that all this is going on, and she's only like in her early 20s.
Yes.
To be thrown into a situation like this that young.
Yes.
I always heard about it because I'm like only 31. I'm only 31, so
yeah.
So all this was going on when I was like what, maybe 8 or 6 or 8 at the time. So for all this to be going on at that time, I didn't know anything about it. So to be older now, knowing what I know about it now, I'm like, wow, that's a lot to take in at 23. But see, I think the whole divisive thing comes from like I just said, we're younger,
right?
So we probably we didn't live the story like people
did.
People who watched it on TV did.
They developed their own opinion on what had happened.
What happened, what really happened that day, and by us not knowing much of the details about it, seeing the story being portrayed, we kind of have different feelings.
Yeah, we've just had our collection from old true Hollywood stories.
Yeah, like we've been told the cleaned up Hollywood version so many years that the people who lived it believed that version, while us not really knowing the story, hear this version, we kind of lean towards more this side.
But they did address that whole the whole situation in this movie in an interesting way. Hearing everyone involves different ways of that they had seen it happen. Which was really neat because it gives the movie the overall feeling that they're not necessarily taking anybody's side in this, but they are going to show it in a more Hollywood style, which was really interesting. So overall, for my score of this movie,
one more note that as a classic rock head, the soundtrack
was
really
the soundtrack
cool.
was pretty cool because the music changed as the time went on too.
Yes, times changed. It fit. It didn't feel out of place.
Yes.
It actually fit, and it was actually character appropriate too.
Yes. They have a pretty cool use of the Barracuda song.
Yeah, and I just as a classic rock head, I was just like nodding along. I appreciate that. It was like watching Guardians in a way where like all these songs come on, you go, okay, I gotta put that in my playlist.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
So for my score, I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10.
I'm going to just give it a 8.5.
8.5. Okay.
8.5. I enjoyed it, but there were some pacing.
That's what I felt there was.
I felt them a little more than you did, so
yeah.
That's why I went down to full 8.5, and why I supposed to do 9.5.
Oh, well, I can understand.
Yeah, but I'm not taking anything away from the movie. It's still a great movie, but
yes,
there are certain moments I was like, oh, yeah. But I did recollect checking my phone during the one moment in the movie, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah. My biggest gripe, besides the minor pacing issues that was for me anyway, pacing, was the oversaturated colors in it. It felt a little too, like I said, saturated. The skin color would look a little red, but I think that was more to kind of just ugly it up a little, try to add some grit. So I don't know. Maybe that could have been I think
that was intentionally done because there's that one scene right at the beginning of the Lilyhammer games where she's just looking into the mirror putting her makeup on.
Right.
It is like it's the way they film it is almost like jarring in a way where it's like she's putting on makeup to make herself look pretty, but the way they film it is doing the opposite.
Right. So that's probably why I said it's probably something that they had done on purpose. To try to add some grit and some to ugly up this character some, but I don't know. It didn't ruin anything for me. That's why I didn't score it too negatively. But that's just something that I noticed that kind of.
But I enjoyed I, Tonya a lot. If it comes out on Bluray, I may pick it up myself because I enjoyed it. Definitely. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's one of the ones.
I'll get you call you by your name for Christmas.
Yeah. But this is one of the rare ones that would have been in my top 10 that I would probably definitely rewatch. That's one thing I said. The higher on the list it was, the more rewatchable it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to go ahead and move to our next one.
Yep, and now I have to take another backseat to this one because I didn't see this one either.
The Florida Project. The plot follows a 6-year-old girl living in a motel with her rebellious mother in Orlando as they try to stay out of trouble and make ends meet. The title of the film is derived from the early project name for the Walt Disney World Resort located near the setting of the film. Now, the Florida Project. This one I actually really liked. I didn't like it at first because of how it's really difficult to get used to how this movie, the acting is done in this movie. It's done in a like a really realistic way, to where it feels like you're watching somebody actually having a real conversation. You're watching real kids play. So like some of the things that they say just felt like if you've ever seen, like I have a bunch of nephews and stuff, and whenever they play, they say some really stupid stuff. So that's kind of what they say. They say some just random things that don't make sense. You hear them just playing around with their imagination. So it's like you're watching real people play, real kids play, and real people have conversations. And if you've been to I've seen neighborhoods that are literally like this. That everybody lives out of motels. There's like right down the street. There's one right now, where people just live out of these motels, and they kind of just have to jump between places because they can't get residency or anything there. And it's just, oh my gosh, this movie was so real and raw. It felt like you were just a very raw movie. But that's why it's really jarring at first, and I didn't know how I was going to feel about it at first. And once you finally do get used to that, the story, I think the movie knows. It starts off kind of slow, and then that's once you finally start getting used to how this is being done, then it just builds up, and the tension rises to a pretty high point towards the end of this movie, and then it lets you down. Not in a bad way. It just takes you down nicely, in a nice way. So the way that this movie, like I said, the way that this movie was shot was mostly handheld, which is kind of, like I said, jarring and gives it the more raw vibe and feel. But as far as the characters, though, you don't really like any of the characters in this movie, except for Willem Dafoe's character, who plays the manager for this motel. He hopes you like some of these characters because he likes these characters. He seems to like everybody, and he will help anybody out, especially this mother and her kids. He helps out several times in this movie because you really wonder how they're going to make it to the next week, because this does go by over several weeks during this summer time that this movie is taking place. And you just wonder each week, how are they going to get their next week's rent and stuff. So it's really interesting, and he helps them out in really clever ways and just really believable ways. So that helps you like the characters because he likes them. If you were to go based out in this movie without him, I don't think you'd like anybody, and you wouldn't care about what they're going through. So that's sort of a really interesting way to do a story. But as far as performance-wise, because of the way that these characters, like I said, it felt ad-libbed for the most part. And like I said, improvised performances is what I'm going based off of what I saw. I don't know for sure if these are actually improvised performances, but it did feel really improvised. I don't know that anybody's going to get nominated for an Oscar. If anybody did, it would probably be Willem Dafoe, but he doesn't really deliver an Oscar-worthy performance. He doesn't really have his Oscar scene in this movie. So, but he is one of the more likable and best performers in this movie. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. It's an interesting project, I'd say. Interesting way to this is the same director. He did I don't remember his name now. Can you look up his name for the Florida Project? But he did the movie called Tangerine that came out I believe last year or the year before, all shot on an iPhone. And it was a pretty good movie. I saw it this is definitely better than Tangerine as far as story wise and just the overall movie itself. This one was not Sean Baker. So yeah, he did a movie called Starlet also before that was really good. So this one was more on par with Starlet, but still in itself, it's his best work yet. And I'm really excited to see what else he can do after this. I don't know if I want to see him tackle any bigger projects after this, because I really like the world that he works in these. It just seems because he met like the mother in this movie was somebody he saw on Instagram. He just sent her a direct message and offered her an audition, which was really interesting.
Nice.
And she's now going on and doing other movies now after this. This is her first real movie. So, anyways, for score, I'm going to give this movie 9 out of 10. Like I said, this movie has, it goes, the tension goes high, but as far as what it builds up to, didn't really build up to something that I thought was all that bad. It might work itself out. I don't know, but I would be kind of cool to go back and revisit some of these people and see what else happens next, because I really would like to see more from these motel people. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Definitely suggest to go see this one. Like I said, I don't know if it's an Oscar-worthy movie. Maybe for best directing, because this was definitely a well-directed movie and just a really creative movie.
Okay.
So yeah, 9 out of 10.
All
Florida
right.
Project.
So a 9.5, an 8.5, a 9 just now, and a 6. Very mixed bag.
Yeah, a mixed bag of Oscar buzz movies.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, out of the three of them, I definitely think that Tonya is the more Oscar-worthy movie. But as far as directing, I think the Florida Project would be better for directing. So, but yeah, I don't. As far as Call Me by Your Name, that one can just go kick rocks. All I care. All right, so
kick rocks.
We're gonna go ahead
Put
and
that on the back of the box. That movie can ... kick rocks.
All right, so we are moving on to our game time. Now, this one we call, what'd you call it?
Pitch Imperfect.
Pitch Imperfect. I wish I had just started it with the graphic that way, but I can't now because it'll spoil everything.
Yeah.
So the way that this works is we are going to pitch you a movie. Right now, the way that we're doing it right now, we chose, because it's the first one, we chose the movie that we're going to pitch you, and it's going to be a remake of the movie that none of us agree, I think, or both of us agree should not be remade. But we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, we're going to do it anyway because that's why it's called Pitch Imperfect. How do you remake something that doesn't need to be remade?
Yes. So this one is Back to the Future.
Yes.
We chose Back to the Future as the movie that we're going to pitch a remake of.
Because that movie has just about a amount of nerd rage that we can capitalize on.
Yes, and and many agree that it's a product of its time and wouldn't work as a remake.
No.
So, if you do go revisit Back to the Future, they definitely were a product of their time as far as the acting goes. It's really over the top. So, with that being said, I will start us off with the way we're going to pitch it. We're going to pitch a director, we're going to pitch you a cast, and then kind of just pitch you maybe a plot line. And then you guys get to vote who you think the better pitch was. So we even designed a poster to go with our pitches of sorts. Some of us aren't as good with the Photoshop as the other ones are.
Can you guess who?
So we'll try not to ask you to vote too much on presentation, I guess. Poster presentation, anyway.
This is like the science fair. Yeah, he made the volcano. Yeah, I got the poster board. He got the volcano.
So we're gonna go based off of. We're gonna ask you guys, like I said, in the comments. We're going to announce the winner next week, because we're also gonna post this on Instagram and Twitter, and ask you guys to vote there. And then we're going to just collect all the votes and announce who the winner is next week. Who you guys think had the? Zach, can you please come get Archie? Get here. Or who the better the better pitch was. Okay. Anyways.
Yes.
Here's mine. Okay. Back to the Future, directed by Wes Anderson. Gosh.
Wes
Anderson.
Not Wes Craven. Hold on now. I'm going to rethink mine now.
Wes Anderson, starring Bill Murray as what's his name?
Doc Brown.
I'm blanking on everybody's name now. And what's his name? Jason Schwartzman as
Marty
McFly. God, I should have wrote everything
down. Back
down.
to the Future, not know any of their names.
I know their names. I'm just blanking now because I'm super nervous on this new segment.
Okay. Because we're both on even playing field for once.
Yes.
Well, not so quite even, because as you can clearly see, he actually made a true Wes Anderson poster.
Yes. So the reason why I picked this is because, and obviously if you didn't notice from the poster, that it's set in Paris. See? Paris, France. So I gave it that because I still want it to be set in the 1980s. Okay? So I want it to be set in the 1980s, and they're going to go back to 1950s? And the reason why the 1950s and 1980s Paris probably don't look that different. So they really didn't even know they traveled in time. So that's why I chose that.
1950s Paris will be a little different because they're.
I mean, have you seen the Paris movies nowadays? They really don't. It doesn't look like it aged at all.
Yeah, but in the 50s, weren't they kind of like still in World War II recovery?
That aside, I still don't think that would make for an interesting story. But Wes Anderson doesn't really do war movies.
No, he doesn't.
So I think in a Wes Anderson-esque thing, where the time you don't even really know where any of his movies are set in time.
I can see why you say that. I guess.
Yeah, he tries to make sure his movies can stand the test of time by not setting it in any time, any specific set of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to see Wes Anderson dabble in time travel, being that you really don't know where his movies are set.
So what's gonna be your MacGuffin that gets them to the future?
Oh, to get them to the future?
Yes.
What, the 20 somethings?
The 1.21 gigawatts. What device gets that for them?
Oh. I mean, it's going to be a flux capacitor. Obviously,
the flux capacitor.
It's instead of the DeLorean car, they're like they said. You can see there that it's a motorcycle and a sidecar. Wes Anderson would approve, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I did not think that far, but it's still going to be a flux capacitor. I actually had imagined my original pitch was going to be like a Western with like Jeff Bridges and stuff as Doc Brown, and it was going to be like a barn explosion, but I changed it.
Okay, all right.
So, anyways, yeah, that's my pitch. I had an idea for who was going to play his mom, but I'm so bad with names right now. Who played the teacher lady in Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange's teacher. Do you remember her name?
Oh, Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton, because she's in Wes Anderson movies. She was going to be the mother.
Oh, good. No, we didn't. Okay. All right. On to my pitch now.
All right. So
let's get this out of the way. Yes, this is my poster. Yeah, as you can clearly see, it's a little more basic, but what I tried to be clever with is the three things across the top remind you of the dashboard.
Oh, true.
Remind you of his dashboard, Hill Valley, the time and everything. And my theory and my idea was that this would be like a retelling of the events from Back to the Future.
Oh.
Where Marty McFly's grandson or granddaughter or both find the DeLorean in the garage, and then Marty McFly tells them the story about the DeLorean, and then something happens. They activate one of the grandkids goes in. They both go in. They try to activate the DeLorean one night, and accidentally wind up back in the 1950s as the events of the first Back to the Future play out.
Do you have a director or a cast?
I would say, like, for that right now, I want Edgar Wright to direct this movie.
Come on.
It would
That's
be
perfect.
Exactly. You told me to come up with what I think would be the best idea for a Back to the Future remake would be. And I would say, like, have his kids with an older Marty McFly, played possibly by Michael J. Fox.
So you want the original?
No, because even though the younger Marty McFly is also there.
Oh, so this is like a reboot with the same Marty McFly?
Yeah, because he's even now. What I mean by the events, Marty's DeLorean crashes into that billboard.
Right.
And then this DeLorean shows up a little while after that. So there's two DeLoreans, the young McFly, the older McFly, and then his two kids.
Okay.
Two grandkids.
Who's playing the doctor?
Who's playing the doctor? In this version of events, so, and with the timeline being all jacked up like it is, I would say a younger Doc Brown, not quite as old as he was in like as Christopher Lloyd played him in Back to the Future Part 2.
Right.
For not 2, 1.
1.
It would be Bryan Cranston.
That'd be kind of okay. Come on,
like
you're picking like just perfect actors.
Like a Bryan Cranston that has to like trying to come up with the idea of time travel, but he hasn't got there yet. So, like, with the timeline being all jacked up because of older Marty's arrival at the events of 55 or whenever the first Back to the Future took place, it throws everything out of whack. Hence why my poster said flux error.
Right.
Because everything's out of whack. There's not supposed to be this many McFlys and DeLoreans in one area. So, like, the timelines are trying to correct the issue. So they have to kind of get out before things go bad for all parties involved.
Well, you definitely put a lot more thought inside your plot, which I applaud you for. And your actors, the characters for the actors, impressive. I like yours.
What did you pick for Marty?
For Marty McFly, yeah. I picked Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, I'll say as for a older Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox, obviously, because he's playing the same character. But the younger Marty McFly, because you obviously had to recast him, I would say maybe Tom Holland.
That's what I was thinking.
Dang, dude. Okay. You got a good cast. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I picked some Wes Anderson favorites.
He was trying to make a true Wes Anderson movie. And I'm actually trying to make a
good
Back to the Future movie. If you had to make one, this is my idea.
That's pretty good casting though. Tom Holland working under Bryan Cranston. Yeah, I like that. And Edgar Wright directing. That since mine was just to be silly, but for real, if anybody were to direct a Back to the Future, I probably would pick Edgar Wright as the director.
Because the effect he would probably come up with just to signify time travel would be amazing.
Yes. So that would be literally, I think that'd be the only director I can think of that could probably do that right. So yeah. I definitely like that you put some thought into that.
Yeah, my poster is trash. Don't get me wrong. That poster is 110% trash. But I put the thought up here into it.
It probably took me as long as you thought of that plot to put my poster together, though.
So it evens out. As much effort as he put into that poster, I put into the plot.
So at least you can visualize somewhat through my poster.
Yeah.
The plot that I could not think of. I'll let my poster speak for itself. Mm-hmm. But come on, Bill Murray as Doc in a Wes Anderson movie. Come on, that's pretty good. What do you think, Zach? Oh man, we should have let him kind of put a vote in.
No, because he already took my Marty. That's what I was gonna pick was Tom Holland too.
Really? No, I'm not asking you to put your input. I'm asking for you to be like an on the spot judge.
Like which one do you think sounds better?
I like his.
You like his plot better?
Casting better.
Okay, so it's kind of, you're gonna give it a tie then? Did you like my poster?
No, yeah, your poster was good.
Yeah, I wish you were. Yeah. So you liked my poster. That said my poster. If you guys can't hear, he said my poster was magnificent.
But
Okay, he said it was good.
Storyline smacks your poster.
Yeah. So he said my storyline smacks the poster. So EJ has your vote.
Yes, but we can still let the audience.
Okay, so yeah, we still want you guys to vote though.
But I
We want you guys.
involved in one next week.
Zach wants to be involved with one next week.
Next
For a horror movie. Well, that's what
I have the perfect horror movie we can do.
Beetlejuice.
You're gonna totally throw off what I was about to say.
Movie. Hand me him.
Chucky?
Who? Chucky?
Hand me him.
They just redid a Chucky.
No, they made a new Chucky. They never rebooted Chucky. That's next week. Pitch Imperfect. Child's Play. Okay. How would you remake the original Child's Play today?
Okay. I was going to. I had a different idea for how we were going to do this, but we'll go ahead and do that. I was going to ask them to suggest a movie.
We can also do that.
Yeah, we could do suggestions, but I kind of actually been kicking around the Child's Play idea in my head for a while, for like a few months now.
Okay. Well then.
That's why it came to me like, Child's Play would be the one I want because I want to get my idea out.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll do next week. Next week we're going to do a Child's Play,
what
and
then all do a separate movie.
Oh my God. Okay.
No. Let Walker have it because he came up with the idea. I just renamed it.
Okay. I was going to say, ask the audience to make a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
So next week we'll do Child's Play. Everybody will come up with a Child's Play movie and try to come up with a poster. Hopefully we'll do a little better, and figure out how to use this Photoshop app. So anyway, yeah.
Talking that good trash. I like that.
So
when I smack them next week.
Next week is Child's Play, but guys, right now, what we want you to do is to send in suggestions. Tweet it, Instagram, leave it in the comments, please.
Mm-hmm. Leave it with
your
vote.
We will literally vote or take a vote.
Mm-hmm. Or how about we do this? Movie that gets the most mentions is the one we do.
That's what I was telling. Well, but to get the most likes or something on there.
Yeah, like as we scroll through the comments and then we just keep seeing them recommend the same movie.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the one we should do because everybody wants to see us do this.
We ain't all like we aren't on that board yet. We'd be lucky if we get a couple comments. So.
Well, if 3 people comment and they all comment the same movie, that kind of makes the decision for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. I mean, you guys send in your suggestions. We're still gonna listen to suggestions, even if we start. We don't use your suggestion this next week. We'll definitely use it in the video afterwards. Well, not definitely, but if you have a good suggestion, we will use it for this video. So go ahead and send your suggestions, and just let us know who you think had the better pitch. Did you think my poster and Wes Anderson one was good, or did you think his Edgar Wright pitch was good? And I mean, if you liked his poster too, let him know. All right. So, anyways, that's the show.
That's the show on YouTube.
Yes, that is our show on YouTube. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the show, this is familiar with last week's show. We're about to switch over to our Twitch channel, and we're going to be playing we're not going to play the Jackbox 4, I don't think. We're going to try to do 3.
Okay.
We're going to try to do something on 3. And we're going to, that's twitch.tv/GeekChamps. So we're still going to keep the Geek Champs Twitch channel up.
Yeah, because, that's easier that way.
It's easier that way. So yeah, so guys, I am the host, Walker Cheatham. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Most active on Instagram at Walker Cheatham, and also at Movie Champs. We're still going to keep our accounts for
the stuff the same.
Yeah, we're going to keep those the same. So none of that's changing. The only thing that's changing is the YouTube channel
name, because we kind of merged our YouTube channel names to like personal titles now.
Yes.
He's like the movie champ. I'm the geek champ. He's the horror champ. It's like what we do now.
Yes.
But we can still do other things too. But that's like our own personal little titles now. But
so tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff at Geek Champs, and my Gmail is at MovieChampsEJ.
Yep, and Zach, who is our producer, who's off to the side right now, he can find him at Zachary Cheatham. That's Zakary Zachary Cheatham, spelled the same way as me. On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and at Horror Champs on his Instagram. So if we're pretty much we're all mostly active, except for you. You're more active on Facebook. Zach and I are more active on Instagram. So if you really want to get in touch with us, that's the way to go, is to Instagram.
Yeah, but now that I got this new phone, that may change.
Yeah, that might change. So anyways, guys, talk to us in the comments, guys. Let us know what your opinions are on, like I said, vote for those things, and let us know if you agree with our views on these movie reviews, and just talk to us, guys. We want to talk to you. We want to get see what you guys like about this show and don't like about this show in a polite manner. Okay, bye, guys.
See you on Twitch.